Call me petty if you want, but I think we should read some of the comments left under my old videos. Sorry, Giants fans. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Full Command Show. My name is Grant Mitchell, and we are here to talk about everything involving the Washington Commanders. On today's show, it's going to be a fun one. We're going to hit on some quick news points first, talk about Josh Conerly, talk about Bill Croskey-Merritt, get some updates from Dan Quinn about the Green Bay game, and then we're going to get to some fun stuff. Look at some old comments left under videos. What were the people saying? What takes aged well, and what takes did not do as well? We're going to get into all that, guys, so make sure you hit the like button if you are excited. We got about a little over 48 hours, maybe like 54 hours, depending on when I get this uploaded and how quickly I edit it. 54 hours until kickoff on Thursday Night Football. Green Bay Packers versus the Washington Commanders. The Packers are second in odds to win the NFC, fourth in Super Bowl odds. Obviously, the Commanders were in the conference championship last game. Should be a very good game and a very good litmus test for both squads, so I'm looking forward to it. However, before we move forward, we have to move back a little bit and talk about Josh Conerly and this offensive line performance, because this has been one of the biggest and most divisive topics online coming out of that Week 1 win, Commanders 21, New York Giants 6. So there have been some stat watchers, and I love stats. I'm a stat nerd, analytical nerd. But there have been some stat watchers who say, hey, Brandon Coleman didn't give up a pressure, and Josh Conerly only gave up one pressure and this and that and going back and forth. And then you've got people on the other side posting the all 22 saying, hey, well, he gets beat here and he gets beat here and this and this and this. And there's a lot. Nobody can seem to agree on, did the offensive line play well? Did Conerly step up to the task? Was it a bad showing? How's everything going to hold up against Micah Parsons and the Packers who just dominated the Detroit Lions? I want to say this. Stats can be a little bit deceiving, specifically from this game, because I thought the Commanders' offensive line did well. Let me start by saying that. The Giants had a 21.6% pressure rate. That was the third lowest in the entire NFL in Week 1. So obviously the offensive line overall did a good job. Josh Conerly also allowed the third lowest pressure rate of any rookie who got a start in Week 1, 5.4%. So yes, he gave up a sack to Abdul Carter, and yes, he got walked back by Kayvon Thibodeau, but the stats will tell you he played a pretty solid game. Well, what did I take from going back, watching the snaps, looking at the numbers, evaluating, thinking about the context of going against this Giants defensive line? I thought the Giants won some plays. I thought the Commanders still did a solid job overall. My reaction is based on my level of expectation. If what had happened in that game happened against the New Orleans Saints, happened against, take your pick, a team that struggles to get after the passer, I would say that was a bad game. But considering I believe the New York Giants to have the best defensive line in the NFL, I feel pretty good about what they did. Again, third lowest pressure rate, Conerly third lowest pressure rate among all rookies. With that being said, you go back and you watch the tape. Yes, Laramie Tunsil got beat on a play. He had to commit a holding to, I think it was Burns. He had to hold Burns to make sure that he didn't get to Jaden, and Jaden did end up getting sacked anyway, I want to say by Carter. So that was a loss for Tunsil. There was a play where, a couple of plays where Dexter Lawrence got the better of Brandon Coleman. There's a play where Carter lined up over Tyler Biadasz and got around him and was able to get into the pocket really quickly. However, the counter to all of this, what I'm saying here is great running game from the Commanders, outstanding running game. They averaged like close to 3 yards per carry before contact. Jaden Daniels did a great job of recognizing when pressure was imminent and getting out of the pocket using his legs. Also, just some terrific play designs from Cliff Kingsbury and Jaden Daniels getting the ball out of his hands quickly. You know what prevents a pressure from even being possible? If the quarterback doesn't have the ball anymore. So let's just say, hypothetically, Conerly instantly lost the first step to Abdul Carter. Well, if the ball's already over here on a bubble screen to Debo, Carter doesn't even have the opportunity to get to Jaden and register a pressure, register a sack, stuff like that. So multiple factors at play. Again, I believe the Giants have the best defensive line in the NFL, but I just wanted to make sure to go over all of this stuff and also talk about some of the nuance that went into this. You know, Cliff Kingsbury did a very good job preparing for this game. Although the offense did not play its best, Cliff had the designed rollouts to the right. That led to the big Chris Moore play. That play was designed to go to the right because you had either a receiver or a tight end. It might have been Bates. I can't remember, but there was a player lined up on the right side in the slot, and they crashed down and helped block down with the offensive line rolling out to the right so that Jaden could roll the pocket out. Also, there were a couple of very intricate play designs. These were all on run plays, but using some orbit motion, Cliff and the guys were able to set up GH counters, basically your guard and your H-back. They were blocking around so that you could get a counter going this way. And then on the Deebo Samuel play, it was still orbit motion. It was the same setup as those counters, but rather than Jaden doing like this whirling dervish 360 handoff, he just handed it to Deebo. Deebo turns around, and now all of a sudden it's a pin pull counter going back the other way. And that's how you set up the Deebo Samuel touchdown. So just a combination of things. Like I said, the Giants won their reps. The Commanders did well overall. Good play design. Good job by Jaden. Get the ball out of his hands quickly. Good design runs. All that stuff goes into this. Overall, I would say Josh and the offensive line did play fairly well. And I'm excited to see them against the Packers because the Packers are still a test, still a very good defensive line, but I don't think anybody's as good as the Giants. So we'll see how they do there. Kendrick Bourne update. I said this in my video earlier today. Kendrick Bourne was down to either the 49ers or the Commanders with where he wanted to play his football. He decided to sign a one-year deal to go back to the 49ers where he started his career. $5 million he will be making this year. He probably thinks he can have a larger role there because Commanders receiver room is pretty crowded. With Terry and Noah Brown and Deebo and Jalen Lane, there's not a ton of snaps to go around. Also, the 49ers have injury problems just like they do every year. So again, probably thinks that he's going to get more work over there. So good luck to him. Good luck in the Bay, Kendrick Bourne. Let's talk about Bill, everybody's favorite rookie, Jacory Croskey-Merritt. So he had the highest rushing grade of all running backs, not just rookies, of all running backs on Pro Football Focus in week 1. Still not mind-blowing stats, 80-something yards for a touchdown, but a very nice debut, 8 yards per carry for Bill. You will definitely take that. I'm excited to see how he does in this next game. A short turnaround, but it's a rookie. It's not like he's got all the miles on his legs. Bill is now up to plus 1,800 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year at BetMGM. This is not gambling advice, but I'm just letting you know. He is now in 9th place, according to odds, among all rookies. The only players ahead of him, Ashton Genty, Cam Ward, Omarion Hampton, Emeka Egbuka, Tyler Warren, Travis Hunter, Travion Henderson, and Tet McMillan. No 6th or 7th rounder or undrafted free agent has ever won Offensive Rookie of the Year in NFL history. The only 5th round rookie to win it was actually a former Redskin, Mike Thomas, who was drafted in 1975. So Bill, it's a long way to go. Obviously, the expectations for Genty and Hampton and Ward and those guys is very high, but Bill moving up very quickly. The closer you get to the top, the more you will slow down. And it was also just 1 week, but I'll tell you what, Bill goes out, gets another 80 yards and another touchdown. He's going to continue to climb that ladder. So all eyes on Bill and Bill for president. That's all I can say. One final note here before we get into the reactions to the comments. Some updates very quickly from Dan Quinn. Jaden Daniels was listed on the injury report today. However, no concern. DQ said literally 0% concern. Jaden got, I guess, some treatment for his right wrist, but 0% concern. He said they're just following league procedures. He said the same thing about Tressway, who took a hard fall after Abdul Carter partially blocked a punt on Sunday, but he said Tressway is going to go out and get some kicks in tomorrow. He'll be just fine. DQ also said there were plays that were very close but missed, unfortunately, for the Commanders' offense. If they hit on those, he mentioned a run, he mentioned a pass to Deebo, the deep pass up the left side to Terry McLaurin. He said you hit all of those, you score 30, 40 points, and the game looks totally different. But it's September football, and he said that is to be expected with some of the players just coming back from injuries, or in Terry's situation, the hold-in, with players not really playing in the preseason. You're going to get just very minor miscommunications, the timing being very slightly off, and things like this will happen, and he expects Jaden and company to get it cleaned up moving forward. Finally, the final note here from DQ, he was talking about Chris Rodriguez Jr. He said the team still likes him. He just mentioned that the running back spot, along with tight end, defensive end, and what's the other one? A receiver, tight end, running back, and defensive end. He said those groups are going to be very fluid on game day. Some people are going to go up, some people are going to go down, some people are going to dress, others are not. C-Rod has a great chance to dress on some days, but he mentioned that Chris Moore got dressed, so they had 6 receivers active. It's going to change depending on the opponent. Every game will be different. Now, with that out of the way, let's get to the fun stuff. Let's read some comments. Again, going to go back, look at old videos, and if your name pops up here, then congratulations, however you want to feel. Really, I just thought that they were interesting for different reasons. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's jump into them. Number 1.
Adebo's the best corner in this game, buddy. Banks was top 5 and sticking with his guy, according to PFF. He just can't get his head around, but he's covering wide receiver 2s this year. Lattimore is washed, and Amos is a rookie making his first start. I would take our corners in this game any day of the week.
Lord have mercy. Do I even need to say anything about this one? Paulson Adebo is the best cornerback in the NFL. That is crazy. This has nothing to do with me being a Commanders fan and you, whoever you are, being a Giants fan. That's grounds to have your cable company come to your house, cancel your subscription, and never be allowed to watch another game of football again. That is insane. Now, it's 1 week. Okay, I get that. We're not talking about an entire career, but just in case you were wondering, Paulson Adebo was 63rd in Pro Football Focus's corner rankings for week 1. Deonte Banks, the guy who was top 5 in separation or lack thereof, he played a total of 11 snaps. The Commanders' offense was bad. They never got out of second gear, yet they were second in success rate. Success rate, it's a bit of a nerdy stat, but it basically means, do you stay in front of the chains? On first down, do you get at least 4 yards? On second down, do you get to at least, I think, 3rd and 3, either 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3? And then on 3rd down and 4th down, do you pick up a first down? The Commanders were second in success rate. So whatever the Giants were doing clearly was not bothering them. And as far as wanting to take your corners over Trey Amos and Marshawn Lattimore, Mike Sainristil, and Noah Igbenogany, heck, we're so deep that I don't even think Jonathan Jones got a defensive snap last week. Russell Wilson was 17 for 37. That offense had nothing. The only source of life was Russ scrambling out of the pocket. Yeah, you can keep Paulson Adebo. I'll keep my corners.
Where did you get this bull poop from? Jaden Daniels didn't do anything last year, and he sucks in the first game of the season. Again, he didn't do poop. He had the same stats as Caleb Williams while playing with a better team. His stats were horrible today. Washington will never win with that. Ha ha ha!
See, man, this is my biggest problem with fans and rival fans. We can have respectful conversations. As soon as we start lying, I get it, dude. You're clearly a Bears fan, Caleb Williams fan. Maybe you're a USC grad. I don't know, whatever you are. But you have an affinity for Caleb Williams, and that's fine. I've liked players who sucked before, too. I liked Sam Howell at one point in my life. If Sam Howell can start over Jalen Hurts, I'll still root for Sam Howell. You know what? Why not, right? But to say that Jaden sucks and his stats were terrible in week 1. Well, in week 1, he had 300 total yards, touchdown, no turnovers. His adjusted completion percentage, because he had 4 drops, but his adjusted completion percentage without those was 79%. And I would agree with you. I would say Jaden didn't play that well. But I tell you what, if Caleb Williams had 300 total yards, a touchdown, no turnovers, and that type of completion percentage, we would be saying, wow, Caleb just played the best game of his career, man. He's finally figured it out. This is the guy who was taken with the first overall pick. This is the Heisman. He's here. Bears country. Let's ride. That's what you'd be saying about Caleb Williams. Jaden Daniels was 7th in MVP voting as a rookie last year. And don't tell me that the Commanders had a better roster than the Bears did. The Bears roster was more talented than the Commanders. I will stand by this. I hate revisionist history. When Caleb was drafted, everybody and their mom was saying Caleb was going to the best situation for a first overall pick in NFL history. And if you want to look back on that and say, well, coaching played a part and why that wasn't true, okay, that's fine. How about the roster? Do you know how many weapons he had? The defense started the year very well. Let's not forget, up until that Hail Mary game, they were playing very well. And I get they fell off. But when the leader of your team shows no interest in being a good teammate, on top of the coaching stuff, yeah, that's gonna cause some capitulation. But Jaden Daniels and this Commanders team, they did not have a lot of talent. It was a completely makeshift offensive line. Our rookie 3rd round pick at left tackle, who didn't have a good year, gave up 9 or 10 sacks overall. I believe in Brandon Coleman's potential, but to say he was a good left tackle, that wasn't the case. You're starting Nick Allegretti and Andrew Wiley, who were backups and position converts, and they just came over from Kansas City. It was their first year with the team. You're going to tell me that offensive line, that was better than what the Bears had, and that team was better than what the Bears had? Think about the Commanders' run defense. It was one of the worst in the NFL. And week 1, their starting cornerbacks were Michael Davis, Benjamin St-Juste, and Emmanuel Forbes. So the Commanders roster was not better than the Bears. The year went better for the Commanders because Jaden Daniels was better than Caleb Williams and because the Commanders coaches were better than the Bears. Rant over. Actually, I lied. Forgot I had some more stats here that I wanted to pull up. Caleb Williams, just because, it's important to evaluate. And Jaden Daniels was awful in week 1, right? Didn't play well? Okay, well, Caleb Williams, what did he do? He blew a double-digit lead at home to a rookie coming off of a torn meniscus who was the lowest drafted first-round pick of his class. J.J. McCarthy was the last of those 6 quarterbacks. Also, J.J. was on the road making his first NFL start, but who really cares about that, right? Caleb got a pick 6 from his defense too, but who cares? Caleb Williams in week 1, he had the worst off-target throw rate. 29% of his throws were inaccurate. So when you see him throwing at that little net with the different squares in him and he's missing it and he's flopping his hands around because he's so upset, sure, it's because he's a competitor, but it's also because he can't get the ball in the net. And if he does that with that pass to DJ Moore over the middle, that skinny post, Bears probably get in there and score. If he hits, I forget if it was Moore or Zacchaeus, whoever it was, but running up the left side up the seam on that ball that he airmails with less than 2 minutes left, that was a touchdown right there. But no, his inaccuracy held him back. He had the 3rd worst mark in completion percentage over expected. He completed 8% fewer passes than he was expected to. He had the 4th worst accurate throw rate. His accurate throws were below 46%. And he had the most hospital balls thrown with 4 of them. So just some recency bias since we're talking about week 1.
So giving the Giants def 0 credit in game 1 when they didn't allow any TDs and had 5 sacks is crazy. I don't care if it was Daniel's first game. You can't talk poop about both wins and move the goalpost saying, oh, rookie QB, still learning, couldn't find the red end zone, etc., etc. Giants had no kicker most of the game, and Neighbors stopped a crucial 4th and 4 right before the 2-minute warning. 27-17 Giants today.
Okay, so I don't know what's moving the goalpost. This is a comment about the 2 times the teams played last year. I don't know what's moving the goalpost about saying the Commanders were up 24-10 in the 4th quarter and were in victory formation to then kneel out the second game. Clearly, he's got a problem with the first game. The whole debate was if the Giants played the Commanders close in both games last year. So he's already ignored 50% of that argument, and it has admitted in doing so that he was wrong about this position. But whatever, if we're only talking about the first game, well, the Commanders gained, I think, 30 to 40% more yards than the Giants did. They didn't turn over the ball. The Giants did. They had 7 scoring drives. The Giants had 3. All the advanced metrics favor the Commanders. 21-18 is a close final score, sure, but whatever. That's not even what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is 27-17 Giants winning today. Am I reading this? Are you in your right mind? Are you in your right mind to think the New York Giants can score 27 points against an NFL team? NFL, like National Football League, that NFL? Is there a national? Is there a national Ferrum League where alumni play? That sounds like maybe the Giants could score 27 points there, but 6 points, 250, maybe even less than that total yards in that first game. Russ completing less than 46% of his passes. Starting running backs, 2 yards per carry. Cam Scatabo, wow, electric. 2 carries for -3 yards. Come on, dude. Again, you can have belief in your team. That's fine. I got no problems. There are actually some Giants fans who predicted the Giants were going to win, and that was fine because they went about it respectfully. But what I can tell that you clearly have no interest in abiding by the truth or logic, then this is what you're going to get. You're going to get laughed at when you just make something up like this. So 27-17 to the Giants. Yeah, good. We'll see. We'll see if the Giants score 27 points at all this year because Malik Neighbors probably wants to trade, honestly. I don't think Malik Neighbors wants to be there anymore. So are you going to score 27 points without him? I don't see it.
It's funny listening to this. A lot of nitpicking. Jalen Hurts can't do this. He can't do that. I'm worried about their defense. They don't scare me. On and on and on. You know what they do? Guy, they win. Constantly, consistently. Defending world champions after decleating Washington in the title game. My suggestion is to concern yourself with the Giants because for a lot of fans in Washington, they're going to be sorely disappointed. They're expecting an easy win. I see the comments everywhere. And it will be razor thin. I think Giants will win it outright, in fact, because their roster might be better. Don't worry about the Eagles. They'll be fine. They're PROVEN.
All right, Mr. Silly Goose, because he subscribed to me for some reason, even though he's an Eagles fan and he always talks about the Eagles in every video. And that's fine. Like I welcome Eagles fans here. I do genuinely. His name is Silly Goose. That kind of tells you what we're getting with this character. But this is the thing. I predicted the Eagles to win the NFC East before the season started. Am I afraid of the Eagles? No, because what would be the point of being a fan or being in high-stakes games if I was afraid of the opponent? Do I respect them? Yeah, absolutely. And I've said that a million times. So Silly Goose, I feel guilty about even bringing up a conversation with this man or woman or whatever because they are silly. They've admitted in their own name. But this is what I would say to this, Mr. Silly Goose. Nitpicking is not a fair word here. I talk about details and nuance because I actually analyze the games. If you want some talking head who's not going to give you anything, they're just going to give you a bunch of repeated and tired nonsense, then sure, go turn on one of these national networks. But when it comes to local networks or people who actually care about the games and the details of it, then I'm going to provide details on that. I said Jalen Hurts played well in the opener. I thought I was impressed by different aspects of the Eagles game, but I said I was concerned about their secondary specifically. They're starting to Dory Jackson again at quarterback number 2. That's not working, and it's not me. It's not my opinion. I'm not insecure about anything. No, I'm reading the reports of the Eagles working out Mike Hilton. He's a slot corner, which means you're probably moving Cooper DeJean outside. The same thing that the Commanders did with Mike Sainristil last year. They're trading for Tank Bigsby. Saquon was outstanding last year, but if he's not rushing for 2,000 yards, does that lower the ceiling? Yeah, absolutely. Because Saquon had one of the best running back seasons ever. Even if he's great, but not historic this year, that lowers the ceiling. So all these moves, yes, I'm paying attention to them. And I'm not nitpicking. I'm analyzing. And if that's a problem, then go watch something else. I got nothing for you.
Washington's defense is going to dominate. They're going to pressure Russ all day long. Washington wins 24-6. NY doesn't score a TD in week 1.
Mike Hughes, you leave a lot of very intelligent comments on my videos, and this is some of your best work yet. He almost nailed the score. And I tell you what, if the Commanders, if they didn't get that if they didn't get that intentional grounding at the end of the first half, and they did kick that field goal, it would have been, what, a 30-something yarder? Nat Gay hopefully makes that. Maybe that's putting the bar too high for him, but I would assume that he makes that. So that score would have been 24-6. So, man, I got nothing to say here other than clap it up. Round of applause. That was awesome.
Prediction. We beat most of our tough opponents, but lose some frustrating ones. We also win the division purely on luck, as similar to 2023, the Eagles are destined to repeat, but drop the ball due to sickness, injury, or just bad luck.
Okay, so I don't quite know how to feel about this. We know that the NFC East does have this long-standing history. No team has won the division in 2 years in a row since 03 and 04, and it was the Eagles, so maybe they're the ones to break the streak. Odds makers will tell you the Eagles are the best team. I'll tell you the Eagles are the best team in the division. A lot of Commanders fans will tell you that, but I do also understand what you're saying here, that injuries can happen, and that's likely to happen almost for teams that got more reps than any other team. Well, let's talk about Saquon Barkley, for example. His career high in carries, regular and postseason combined, was something like 310, and then last year he got 430. This is a guy who was injury prone throughout his career, had a healthy year last year, but racked up significant mileage on his legs. Is he going to hold up for this entire year? Who knows? A lot of Eagles fans, I haven't read the reports. I genuinely don't know much about it. I'm ignorant on this topic, but I've seen a lot of Eagles fans saying that A.J. Brown is injured. If that is the case, well, you're starting off the year hurt, and if it's not, then your excuse is bad play with an injury, which is not a good sign to begin with. Landon Dickerson is banged up. There's some holes on the secondary. So I hear what you're saying. With all that being said, I still view the Eagles as the best team, and I don't really like rooting for luck here. So I don't know. It's something that could come true. And I also wouldn't say the Eagles in 2023 was due to luck. I think they just collapsed. I think something happened in the locker room. Eagles fans would be more qualified to talk about that than me. I wasn't at the point in just where I was in life where I was analyzing their games or really doing my deep dives into them. So they would be qualified to give you a better answer than I. But overall, I understand what you're saying here. I don't quite want to go down that route because I don't want to root for luck. I would rather just talk about what's happening on the field.
You're in for a surprise then. You're only a razor-thin margin better than the Gamen. Razor-thin. And I think Giants might upset 21-20. If Wash does win, it's going to be disappointingly close for you.
Disappointingly close. Actually, let me check something real quick. So if we're looking at teams that performed the best relative to the spread of their game, the Indianapolis Colts, their game was basically a pick 'em. They won by 25. The Packers covered by 13. The Jags by 11.5. The Raiders by 9.5. And then you've got the Commanders at 9. So according to Vegas, the Commanders were the 5th most impressive team of week 1. They won by 15 points against divisional rival in week 1 after, not having their Pro Bowl guard. Another guard he was a rookie last year who changed positions, didn't practice for most of the offseason with an injury. Terry didn't practice really more than a week because of his holding. Noah Brown barely practiced more than a week or two because of his injuries. All this stuff, Jaden didn't play well. We can go over all this. Yeah. And it was 25-6. The Giants gained 230 yards to the Commanders' 450. The Giants scored the fewest points of any team in week 1. So if this is disappointingly close, then I actually think you might be a Commanders fan or just a Commanders believer. Because if this is disappointing, then we got a great year in store for us, baby. That's all I'm gonna say to that. So yeah, that's it for the end of this video. A wrap up from last week, thoughts from Dan Quinn, and reacting to some comments that were left under my videos. If you guys enjoyed this, make sure you leave a like. Go to the comment section as well. Leave me your thoughts on everything I said here. Leave your thoughts on some of these old comments as well. And guys, if I did if I did mention you, It's nothing but love and jokes, okay? Don't take it too personally. It's funny. We put things out on the internet. I'm wrong all the time. There's no hard feelings with anybody. But I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here, guys. As always, I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day.